Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I'd like to begin with a few words about Donald Trump's dangerous post last night on Truth Social. What Donald Trump said, falsely suggesting his political opponents are out to kill him, is beyond the pale and is the stuff that leads to political violence. Donald Trump seems to have no consideration for the sanctity and peacefulness and further functioning of our democracy. Everyone who was here on January 6th should immediately see what he's doing, what Donald Trump is doing, using conspiracy theories to spin the hard right into a frenzy. And it's despicable for members of Congress to spread Donald Trump's lies. This is how people get killed, how the seeds of political violence are sowed, and how people lose faith in this democracy. Donald Trump has no regard for that. He would basically rip up parts of our democracy for his own, what he thinks is his own personal gain. Let's speak truthfully. What the FBI did was follow standard practice. They worked with the Secret Service at Mar-a-Lago ahead of time to coordinate how to carry out a search warrant. Donald Trump wasn't even in Florida, but instead in New Jersey on the day of the search. So this idea that his political opponents are out to kill him is absurd. Every single member of the House and Senate, Democrat and Republican, should condemn Donald Trump's outlandish and dangerous statement. It should be the easiest thing they do today. If words like Donald Trump's are not fiercely condemned, we're only begging for something far worse to our democracy down the line. We cannot let this man, Donald Trump, or anybody else, throw these kinds of matches to light flames that could burn our democracy. It's just horrible. Can't believe that someone would do something like that. Now on judges, a much better note. Mr. President, today the Senate reached a significant milestone. 200 judges. Today the Senate reaches a significant milestone. 200 judges confirmed to lifetime appointments under President Biden and this very proud Democratic majority. 200 judges who are restoring balance and excellence to our courts. 200 judges who are increasing the diversity and dynamism of our judiciary. 200 judges who are committed to applying the law fairly, impartially, equally. Of those 200 judges, I'm so proud. 127 are women. 125 are people of color, both traditionally underrepresented demographics on the bench. We're making our courts look more like America. It's not just going to be partners, male white partners in fancy law firms. It's much more diverse, and the bench is better for it. It's something we can all be proud of. 127 women, 125 people of color are over twice as many women and more than 3 times as many people of color confirmed under the last administration. We've confirmed more black judges, more Latino judges, more Asian American judges. We confirmed the first Muslim American man and woman on the bench, the first Navajo federal judge, the first black woman to serve on the Supreme Court, of course, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. We've confirmed more judges who have served as public defenders and civil rights lawyers and consumer lawyers and immigration lawyers and labor lawyers. Again, not just partners in big law firms. We've confirmed more judges, in other words, who embody the very ideal of America, a place where rule of law is protected, where the rights of all are honored, and where everyone gets a fair shake. I commend Chairman Durbin. I commend the Judiciary Committee for their great work processing judges in and out of our committee. I commend President Biden for nominating so many of these people and working with our Senate colleagues as to who would be best from their states and regions. Senate Democrats are very proud of our record. We're proud of our judges, and we will keep going. On the border. Well, Mr. President, tomorrow, senators face an important decision. Will both sides come together to advance a bipartisan border security bill, or will partisanship get in the way yet again? 3 months ago, Donald Trump told his Republican allies to block the strongest bipartisan border security bill Congress has seen in a generation. Luckily, we are trying again tomorrow, and I hope this time Republicans join us to achieve a different outcome. The only way we're going to fix the border is through bipartisan legislation, just like the one both sides spent months negotiating a few months ago, and which we're taking up again tomorrow. We don't expect every Democrat or every Republican to support this bill. It wasn't designed that way. It wasn't designed to get all the votes of one party, which then almost inevitably means you get none of the votes from the other side. It was intended to be a compromise that could pass and become law. We know there are disagreements, as there always are, about the best way to proceed on the border. But that's precisely why I've emphasized from day one, we need to have strong border support if we hope to get border done. Unlike H.R. 2, a very partisan bill, the bipartisan bill, border bill, was written with the goal of getting 60 votes in the Senate, with the support from both Republicans and Democrats. It had input from both Republicans and Democrats. H.R. 2 can't claim that. If anything is political, it's H.R. 2. It didn't receive a single Democratic vote in the Senate because Democrats weren't consulted. It didn't even get the full support of Senate Republicans. H.R. 2 was the definition of political theater, of one side sitting in a room by itself, writing what it wanted, not even thinking of how you pass a bill. Our bill, however, is what a serious attempt at border reform looks like. Now, most people might not remember, but a few months ago, there was a lot of bipartisan interest in getting our border bill passed before Donald Trump killed it in its tracks. Our Republican colleagues, including the Republican leader, was adamant we needed to get border security done as part of the National Security Supplemental. This is what the Republican leader said right before our bill was released. I think this is the ideal time to do it. He then added, Leader McConnell added, this is a unique opportunity where divided government has given us an opportunity to get an outcome. These aren't the words of someone who thinks our efforts were political theater. These are the words of someone who thinks we were close to reaching a breakthrough. And he wasn't alone. My friend from South Carolina also said that to those who think that if President Trump wins, that we can get a better deal, you won't, he added. This moment will pass. Do not let it pass. Republican senator from South Carolina. So let's be perfectly clear. Our bipartisan border bill represented a real chance, in fact, the best chance in decades, to act on border security, to make a law, not just to make a political point. Importantly, the bill would have made huge strides towards cracking down on the scourge of fentanyl. It would have given billions for DEA, for DHS, to hire officers to focus exclusively on drugs, and billions for state-of-the-art equipment to detect the flow of drugs at border crossings and ports. And some of my Democratic colleagues will be talking about that at 12:30 at an event, how this bill really does more than anything we have done thus far, and we've worked hard on it, to deal with the scourge of fentanyl. So today, my Democratic colleagues will shine a spotlight on the immense good this bill would do to protect our country from the free flow of this dangerous drug fentanyl. If you told me a year ago that this was the kind of bill we had before us, I would have been certain Republicans would have helped enact this bill into law. By any objective measure, it's strong, necessary. And one final note. The last time we came close here was 2013, when we passed comprehensive immigration reform. We did it bipartisan. It was the only way to do it. I and my late friend, good friend, John McCain, had a gang of 8, 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans. We got, I believe it was, 69 votes on the floor of the Senate. Unfortunately, the House didn't pass it. But it's just a lesson to all of us. Bipartisanship is the only way to go. H.R. 2 is not the least bit bipartisan. Our bill was completely bipartisan. So tomorrow, we're going to lay out a clear choice. Tomorrow, we will see who is serious about actually wanting to fix the border and who prefers to merely talk about fixing the border. Now on the Farm Bill. Tomorrow, House Republicans will mark up their partisan farm bill that frankly completely misses the mark. The Farm Bill should support the farmers who grow our food It should protect our land. It should invest in jobs for rural communities, big and small, to rebuild their economies. The Farm Bill should provide life-saving hunger assistance for the millions of Americans who rely on programs like SNAP. And it should extend SNAP benefits to our friends in Puerto Rico, who've been excluded from this program for decades, and it will expand it to them. It's sad to see that rather working together to get a serious Farm Bill passed, House Republicans are playing games and pushing a one-sided, insufficient partisan bill. Senate Democrats, on the other hand, have released a Farm Bill proposal that maintains a bipartisan coalition and invests in all of the areas I mentioned, so I commend Chair Stabenow for her work. Let me be clear. A purely partisan Farm Bill that departs from the long-standing spirit of bipartisanship has no future in the Senate. And unfortunately, I might add, it seems to be where this House, the Republican House leadership and party, always goes. They always retreat to a corner of partisanship. They're not interested in improving the lives of American people. They're just interested in scoring political points to a narrow group back home, the MAGA group, that seems to have such power in the party. So I hope that doesn't happen on the Farm Bill. It's always been bipartisan. House Republicans, come on, wake up. You want to help our farmers? Work together with Democrats and pass a bipartisan bill. Contraceptives. Yesterday, we began the process for the Senate to consider the Right to Contraception Act, led by Senators Markey and Hirono in June. Now more than ever, contraception is a critical piece of protecting women's reproductive freedoms, standing as nothing short of a vital lifeline for millions of American women across the country. Senate Democrats are committed to restoring women's freedoms and will fight to protect access to contraception, and other reproductive freedoms that are essential safeguards for millions of women to control their own lives, their futures, and their bodies. I yield the floor. Note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call a roll.